Welcome to Tuesday, everybody. So we are going back to Jerusalem again, following the life of Jesus during this last week. And what we see is he goes back to the temple. And what happens in the temple this time is the Pharisees and even the Sadducees and the scribes are getting angry with Jesus. And they're trying to discredit him when he comes into the temple and he's teaching. And so they try to trap him in questions and they try to get him to say things that will make him seem like he's not who he says he is. And so I just want us to look at the scripture because I think it's so interesting about how they try to trap Jesus and how Jesus responds to them. But I want you to remember that the Pharisees came to him and they were trying to, as I said, trap him. And they say, tell us what the greatest commandment is. If you really are the fulfillment of the law, tell us what the greatest commandment is. And I love Jesus' response to this. And he said to them, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend the law and the prophets. Y'all, this is fantastic because what Jesus has just done is he's pretty much summed the 10 commandments up in 2 commandments. In the first 4 commandments that we see in the Old Testament, they have everything to do with about our love for God, which he's saying is the greatest in the first commandment. So that takes up the first 4. The last 6 have to do with our love for other people, which is why Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. So what Jesus has done is he's taken the 10 commandments that they're trying to trap him in, and he's framed them into 2. And from those 2, all the others come out of. So Jesus is just showing them over and over that he is the Messiah. He is exactly who he says he is. And then Jesus goes on and he opens the scripture for them because he wants them to see who he is through scripture. And as the Pharisees were gathering, Jesus said, what do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? And they said to him, the son of David. And then Jesus goes and said, well, how is it that David in the Spirit calls him Lord, saying, the Lord sit at my right hand, and so I put enemies under your feet. If David calls him Lord, how is he his son? Jesus is just confounding the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and he's letting them know that I am the Messiah. And then we see the 7 woes that he pronounces upon the Pharisees, and he calls them whitewashed tombs. And we see all these different things about the woes and how he's just telling them how they have just done what they shouldn't do, and woe to them because of what is coming. Jesus is showing everybody on this day, Tuesday, who he is. He is confounding all the supposed leaders that filled the temple. He's confounding them. And then he leaves and he goes back to Bethany. And here's the thing, that night, we begin to see a gathering taking place where the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Sanhedrin and all those who are supposed to be the people of God, remember the fig tree, they come together and they're going to conspire against Jesus because they realize that they cannot confront him. They cannot outsmart him. They can't outplay him. They're going to just have to figure out a way to get rid of him. And so they begin to formulate a plan about how they're going to get rid of Jesus. And what a terrible thing to be the masterminds behind the crucifixion of Jesus. And again, we go back to the woes. Woe to you, you Pharisees, you whitewashed tombs. Lord, we pray that we are not whitewashed tombs, that we are the people who are striving hard after you. In this Passion Week, I'm hoping each one of us will look and the specifics of the life of Jesus. I'm so thankful that you're here with me today, and I can't wait to see what we find on Wednesday. Have a good day. Bye.